Hello everyone, welcome to another stream. Um, Deciding to stop playing the music at the 30-second mark now because apparently last video, even though I paused it after, like before I started streaming, apparently was playing a copyrighted song, and for whatever reason, even though I had stopped that song before the audio came through, it did mute that part of the VOD, so trying to stop the music a little bit earlier now. Do apologize. Um, but yeah, we're here to talk about Hour of Devastation, and today we're going to be talking about white. So, without further ado, let's talk about Act of Heroism. 1 in a white, instant, untap target creature. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and can block an additional creature this turn. Um, this card just sounds kind of meh. Just another generic white pump spell, and don't really have too much to say. I do think the flavor is pretty sweet. On every plane, there are those who run towards danger, and I don't know. I think the art's pretty cool. But as far as a card goes, it's not gonna win any awards. Let's see. Adorned Pouncer, 1 and a white cat, relevant creature type. Double strike, eternalize for 5. And when you eternalize, which is a new keyword by the way, new keyword hype. When you eternalize a card from your graveyard, you exile it from your graveyard. You create a token copy of it. That's a 4/4. In this case, it would be a black zombie cat with no mana cast, and you can only eternalize at sorcery speed. So it's pretty much Embalm, except it becomes a 4/4. Not really too much of a difference, but yeah, very similar. I think this card's really good. It's definitely going to go in my cat tribal deck with Sacred Kitty and Adorned Pouncer now, and Regal Caracal. Shout out to you, CGB. Yeah, I think this is gonna be fun. I haven't had any experience with this card because I've never played around with Hour of Devastation cards, but I think it's pretty good on the surface. 2 mana for a double strike 1/1. I mean, it's kind of just okay, but the Eternalize is what really makes me excited for it. Imagine having not just a 4/4, but it would be a 5/5 with double strike and lifelink. And say you have Anointed Procession out, you would get 2 5/5s. I can easily see why Adorned Pouncer could go quite ham. Okay. Angel of Condemnation, 2 white. Angel, flying, vigilance, 2 in a white, tap, exile another target creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. 2 white, tap, exert, Angel of Condemnation, exile another target creature until Angel of Condemnation leaves the battlefield. So I'm trying to think. This card's interesting, and it has 3 power and toughness. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, this card is interesting. It reminds me a lot of a card called Eldrazi Displacer, which I will pull up. And that's going to be the card that I compare it to, even though it's from a totally different set. But if we're talking about these 2 cards, I think... The thing with Displacer is he's a little bit easier on your mana base, but he isn't in that same sentence. Like, he's only 3 to cast. His ability doesn't require him to tap himself, so you can spam it over and over again. But that little glass icon has always made things somewhat awkward with Displacer. That being said, if Displacer was a card we could play with in Arena, I feel like we'd have tons of Field of Ruins, and it'd be fine. We'd have no problems running Displacer. But Angel of Condemnation, it's a totally different card. Like, it's an angel, which is a relevant creature type. Nice thing about Displacer is he can go infinite, but the other guy is also removal. Yes, he is also removal. And he's not as taxing if you consider that you don't have to use colorless to use Angel of Condemnation's ability. Um, you might actually be able to make an Angel tribal deck. Because there's a lot of angels we've gotten. There's an angel called Angel of Sanctions, which also I think this card competes with, but you might be able to run both of them. Both of these angels. This Angel of Sanctions exiles target non-land permanent until this leaves the battlefield, and you can also embalm it. Does need to tap, correct. I'm definitely not against the idea of trying to brew something with Radiant Destiny and a bunch of angels, because if you look at just these two angels in terms of power level, just these two right here, it could definitely work. The problem is I'm not sure if there are any other angels that I'd want to use, and I guess I can go through the list real quick. Eugenides wanted Displacer and Duels so badly, such a fun card. I remember being a little salty about about Displacer and how broken it was at one time, but that's a conversation for another stream. But let's be honest, I get derailed all the time, so it could be a conversation for this stream. Seraph of the Suns is an angel, but not really that good. 7 mana for a 4/4 indestructible flying. I mean, sure, you can argue that indestructible is great and all, but you're committing a lot of mana to make that happen. Who's streaming next, of course? I don't know, man. We'll see if CGB streams next. Or Huge. So none of these are angels. Okay, they did give us a Winged Shepherd, but it's 6 mana, and I know it has cycling, but man, 6 mana for a 3/3 flying vigilance. Not a big fan, even with cycling attached. So we don't really have too many angels. I thought we might be able to build something when I was looking at just those two cards, but we're going to have to see some better angels as we move forward. And I know we're going to get a couple, such as Angel of the God Pharaoh. And let's review it. Angel of the God Pharaoh. 4 white. Angel flying, cycling 2, 4/4. I mean, I kind of just said how much I don't like, and I'll go back to the angel real quick. Where was that cycling angel? Here we go. Winged Shepherd. I was kind of just getting over how much I don't like Winged Shepherd, and this card is very similar. 6 mana. This card's also 6 mana. In this case, it's a 3/3 flying vigilant, cycling 1. In this case, it's a 4/4 flying, cycling 2. So not the exact same, but similar enough, and they're both not really that good. So far, Angel Tribal not in the best place. I thought Radiant Destiny might be able to pull something together, but I guess not. Okay. Cycling creatures could enable a Boneyard Parley deck. Yes, for anyone who's not aware, I will pull up Boneyard Parley real quick. That's an interesting idea, Huge. I don't know if it's going to be good, though, because Boneyard Parley is a 7 CMC card. I'm just trying to see how it would read. So you get the creatures back, and they wouldn't be embalmed, which is interesting. So I actually kind of like it. It's kind of expensive, so we are officially in Janktown when we talk about combos like these. But the fact that they are not embalmed when you get them back, like they can go back into your graveyard and you can embalm them later, definitely gives it that sort of recursion feel that can be annoying for a lot of decks. You can definitely tax the removal spells and, you know, make them work really hard to beat you. Not a bad combo. I'm a fan. That is definitely one way to take advantage of all of the cycling cards that we've had. The one problem with Boneyard Parley, though, is that they do get to choose. I believe it's 5 creatures in 2 piles, and they get to choose which. No, they make the piles. I'm sorry. Let me just go back to the card real quick. I don't use it that much, clearly. But let me just go back to it one more time, just to clarify. I believe that, let's see. An opponent separates those into two piles, and then you choose the piles. Okay. Just for clarification purposes, I wanted to know how Boneyard Parlay works. That's how little I've used it that I can't quite fully remember. Yeah, it does kind of suck that you don't just get 5 creatures. I know that would be kind of OP, but for 7 mana, that's a lot of mana that you're needing to use. You're only going to get 2 to 3 cards generally, or maybe like 1 really good card or 4 sort of okay cards. Anyway, Aven of Enduring Hope. 4 and a white, flying. When Aven of Enduring Hope enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. I kind of wish this was an angel, going back to my angel plea, but no. It looks very angelic, you know? You got the sun in the background, and these bright white wing. I guess the wings are kind of dark, but... the Graveyard Fact or Fiction for almost twice the cost, but jank to the extreme. GPG plus Boneyard. Yeah, that sounds a little crazy. I think we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves now. Okay. Crested Sunmare. 3 and 2 white. Horse. Not too many horses that we have, unfortunately. We can't really have an easy time making horse tribal. And you'll notice that I'm really trying to look at Radiant Destiny under any lens that I can, because I think Radiant Destiny is a really good card. So if I can make a Radiant Destiny Angel deck or a Human deck or a Warrior deck, like it's just a good card for tribal. And so I'm always looking of how I can put that card into a deck to try to get something together. But right now its best play seems to be vampires, and I think that's gonna stay that way for a while. Let's see. Alright, Crested Sunmare. I think it's pretty good. I know it goes excellently in vampire decks, as demonstrated in Memphis. It's quite easy to gain life. There's just a lot of lifelinkers and stuff. Bloodfast Sunmare. Whew. If only it worked that way. You have to gain life, not lose life, like Argol's Bloodfast. I guess you could transform your Argol's Bloodlust and then sacrifice creatures and gain creatures. It would be a very janky deck. But yeah, I think this goes best in the Vampire Brews. At worst, you have a 5/5 for 5. Everything else is an added bonus. Well, that is a problem, Cheese Egg. You're saying that at worst you get a 5/5 for 5, but a 5/5 for 5 sounds kind of bad to me when I can get a 4/4 and a 3/3 with Regisar Alpha. Like, that's just a big clunky dork. So I do think you need to have synergy for it to actually be a good card. You need to gain that life. You need to have Adanto, the first fort. With white, though, you have to have life gain. Like, if you don't have life gain, this card is a Nambo combo. So you put your Adanto, the first fort, or Legion's Landing, whatever half you want to call it. You have to use at least 3 or 4 of them. And then you throw in the Crested Sunmares. And you have a deck. And that's what they took to Memphis and did an excellent job with. I believe that deck made, like, top 32. So maybe 19th. Thank you for the bits, Shard. 25. I appreciate it. And apparently a bad joke from Eugenides is incoming. So stay on the lookout for that, guys. Okay, Dauntless Aven, 2 and a white. I'm saying green will of course have better value creature-wise, but it's not too often you get a card for white that gives you your cost value with an additional effect. Yeah, you need to have if, like, say this card just read 5/5 for 5, like, it needs to be something. I guess what you're trying to say is, as a failsafe, you're at least getting a 5/5, you know? Which I can appreciate that. But you don't play this card so that you can get a 5/5 for 5. You play this card so that you can get another 5/5 and get 10 power and toughness for 5 mana. But I see the angle you're coming from. And I'm pretty excited for this card. The fact that like you can just swing in with a 1/1 lifelink. Say you want to just transform your Legion's Landing, and you play Crested Sunmare, and you get another horse out of it. Just that, like that is insane. And the fact that when you have two of these out, they give each other indestructible, and the fact that it's not legendary, that definitely elevates it in how much I like it. You could run this as a 4 of, and I think they ran 3 at Memphis, but I would not have any problems with running 4 of these, simply because you can get the double indestructible, and I think that's pretty good. Don't lurk, Eugenides. I love it when people are in chat spewing jokes. Let's see what your joke was. Did you hear about the circus fire? It was intense. Love it. Alright, Verdant Sun's Avatar into Sunmares. There you go, mostly Entropy. That's the jank I like to see. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I love that like once you get multiples of these, that you just get an indestructible horse army, Here's a card that could work, but probably wouldn't. I think I need to go to multicolor to find it. Let's see. You could use cards like Prepare, for example, to gain life. Like, it doesn't have to go in vampires. And there's another card I want to talk about really quick that could also work with this. See if I can find it. Renewed Faith could also work. You could just run out your horse and then draw a card and gain an indestructible horse. That's another combo that I could easily see you go for. Sacred Kitty just synergizes very well with horses, ironically. A cat and horse deck. No, I think there's a lot of different like life gain cards you can splash. Even Vraska's Contempt. You could make like a horse control deck with 4 Crested Sunmares and 4 Vraska's Contempts and 4 Moments of Craving. It does have to be on this turn, so you'd have to cast... No, it's the beginning of each end step. That's interesting. So you could actually play horse, and then on a future turn you could Vraska's Contempt something, and then create a 5/5, because it's each end step. It doesn't matter what end step it actually happens on. So there's definitely like a lot of synergies that go on with this horse that I didn't even realize until I reviewed it just now. And the more I think about it, ironically, like, this is one of those cards that you think the more you look into it, the worse it gets. The more that I've looked into this card, the better it's actually gotten. And I'm pretty excited for it. Hopefully the economy is in a good place where I can make a deck with tons of Crested Sunmares. I would be quite happy to do that. Are there any other horses in these sets? I do not know the answer to that. I don't think you can make your horse tribal deck, if that's what you're getting at. I don't think you can Radiant Destiny, Crested Sunmare, and throw a bunch of other horses in. Seems like a bad idea, if that's what you were getting at. Yeah, it is kind of weird, though, that they just gave us a random horse. Kind of strange. I would love a horse tribal. Yeah, I don't blame you. I do not blame you. After seeing this as the top end of your horse tribal deck, I can't be mad at you for that, Shizag. Okay, Dauntless Aven, 2 and a white. Bird Warrior, flying. You could make a Bird Warrior tribal deck, Shizag. I know it's not quite the same thing as a horse tribal deck. But let me tell you, after reviewing these sets, the amount of Bird Warriors that we've seen will impress you. You'd be surprised. There might even be more Bird Warriors than there are Minotaurs. Like, Bird Warriors is it's a common creature type in Hour of Devastation and Amonkhet. I'm not saying you'd make anything good. It would be a terrible deck, but if you wanted to, Bird Warrior Tribal is something that you could go for. There's enough cards to do it. Okay. 2 and a white. Flying when Dauntless Aven attacks, untap target creature you control. 2/1, just a bad card. Why are most of them so bad, though? I don't know. It's like they really wanted to give us Bird Warriors, and at the same time, they wanted all of them to be awful. I'll show you the best bird warrior that we have. No, that's not a bird warrior. Never mind. I thought this was a bird warrior for some reason, but it's just a human. Okay, I'm getting way derailed right now. I shouldn't be looking for bird warriors. I'm getting derailed. I'm derailing myself. It's my own fault. Do any of them give bonuses to other birds? No, we don't have a bird lord. You can throw Suntail Hawk into your bird deck. I know Suntail Hawk is not a bird warrior, but it's still a bird. Desert's Hold. 2 and a white enchantment aura. When Desert's Hold enters the battlefield, if you control a desert or there is a desert card in your graveyard, you gain 3 life. Is Aven Mind Sensor a bird warrior? We'll get to Aven Mind Sensor in a minute. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. So 3 mana to essentially to lock something down. I like that it prevents ETBs. You could enchant Zakama with this. You could enchant Zakama, and he wouldn't be able to actually destroy the enchantment, which is pretty interesting. I don't think this card's awful. Like, of the enchantments that lock down creatures, I think this is one of the better ones that we've gotten. Oh, you just missed it, Shaolin. You just missed... We had a very in-depth discussion on Crested Sunmare, and I would highly encourage checking it out, because I learned a lot of new things about Crested Sunmare, and I thought I was on top of that card. I really did. I thought that I knew everything there was to know about Crested Sunmare, but I proved myself wrong. So yeah, if you haven't seen that part of the stream, definitely go back and check it out at a later point. There's some synergies that I'm a big fan of, and I don't want to just repeat myself. So yeah, at a later time. Shaolin is in second place as usual. Ooh. Alright, Crested Sunmare was on top of you? Okay, Shaolin, that's just getting weird. Desert's Hold. Now, going back to this card, I think that's pretty good. It's not our best enchantment removal type card. Like, I think Ixalan's Binding does it better. I think Baffling End does it better. But this card's not bad. As I said earlier, you can lock down a Zakama with this card, which... Can you, though? Hang on. No, you couldn't. I don't think you could, because it wouldn't automatically attach to... would it? I don't think it would actually work on Zakama as like I thought it would. Because it would have to resolve, right? It would have to... It would as it entered, it would target Zakama, and then Zakama would have a window to actually destroy Desert's Hold before the effect resolved. Similar to how when they Ixalan's Binding a Thrashing Brontodon, you can sack Brontodon in response and destroy Ixalan's Binding, so that Ixalan's Binding doesn't actually, take over. It would work on Zakama. Oh, because it's an aura. Because it's an aura, that's right. Ixalan's Binding, I don't believe is an aura, but the fact that this is an aura, it would... there's no window with that card, yeah. It would be enchanted, yep. Yeah, he's enchanted before you get the chance. And I think it's because of this word right here, aura. So that's cool. I guess you can nerf Zakamas. Interesting. Anyway, I can't wait to be able to make a God Pharaoh's Gift deck. I haven't gotten to play with it yet. I'm kind of low on God Pharaoh's Gift. I did review it a little bit yesterday. I wouldn't say a little bit. I actually reviewed it a fair amount. I looked into it, and I'm not quite sold right now. I feel like there's a lot of cards that you're missing that you wish you could have. 2 of them being, forgetting the name of the cards because I never really played the deck, but the Minister of Inquiries is one and Refurbish is the other. Those 2 cards I feel like you're going to wish you could have. You're with Egg. I think it can be fun. I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm just saying it's not going to be as good as I want it to be anyway. Um, Anyway, but getting back on the tracks, Disposal Mummy, 2 and a white. Zombie Jackal. When Disposal Mummy enters the battlefield, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. I think this card's pretty jank. I know we're in a format where exiling cards from graveyards matters, but let's be serious. This card isn't that good. Abrade makes GPG a little sketch, but still a fun deck. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that Abrade's not going to be played as much because we're not facing Mardu vehicles, and because GPG isn't quite as strong in this meta, simply because it loses a lot of cards that it wishes it had. I think Lightning Strike is better to play main deck than Abrade in this format, and I could be wrong. I could eat my words, but right now, like, we're not facing Mardu vehicles, and as I said, GPG is weaker, so I feel like the hit artifact isn't going to be as important at this current time, but I could be wrong. Anyway, Jeru with eyes open, 3 and 2 white. Legendary creature, human warrior, vigilance. When Jeru with eyes open enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a planeswalker card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. If a source would deal damage to a planeswalker you control, prevent 1 of that damage. I think this card is pretty bad. I guess if you want to make Super Friends, you can do it, but the problem is even in Super Friends, it requires 2 white. So it's not like Duels. Like, you know how in Duels there were 4 and 5 color Super Friends decks? Jeru would go kind of awkwardly into those. And I know there's one card that Super Friends players occasionally like to use called Gift of Paradise, which can sort of help your mana. I still think Jeru is just not that great. And preventing 1 damage from a Planeswalker, I mean, it could be relevant. You gotta think that every turn your planeswalkers stay alive is another turn that player gets more and more advantage, which is relevant. Like, if you can even get 1 extra turn out of a walker, then Jeru with eyes open is doing it for you. But I still think he's kind of bad with the 3 and 2 white, and he's just a big body. He's just a big card with a small body. That's 5 mana for a 4/3 vigilance that does fetch you a planeswalker, and it does put it into your hand. So, but we don't really have like Super Friends decks right now. I mean, they exist, but they're not like the strongest decks, especially after Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation come around. Like, I know Shaolin's been parading Vraska plus Angrath, which is a strong deck. I'm not going to argue the merits of that deck against Shaolin. I think he came up with quite a solid brew. But what I am going to argue is that if you wanted to run Jeru into those kind of decks, you have to splash for like a 4th color at that point. It requires 2 white. And it just feels really awkward to me. And I think Super Friends is going to get a lot weaker post Amonkhet and Hour of Dev, because there's going to be cards like Scarab God decks and Gruul Monsters and Cycling and Approach that just do much more work. Jeru's Renunciation, 1 and a white, instant, tap up to 2 target creatures, cycling. I think this card's pretty bad. I'd rather just Fumigate or Settle the Wreckage, and actually deal with the threats rather than tap the threats. I'm not a big fan. Call the Gatewatch with a body, still not great. I will say I like it more than Call of the Gatewatch, because it does have a body and it does have a relevant effect, and it does have vigilance. Like, I do like it more than Gatewatch, but I agree with you, Entropy. I think it's still not great. Okay, Dutiful Servants, 3 and a white, 2/5. Buildings crumbled and monuments fell. The river bled and the skies wept tears of fire. All the while, servants silently continued their work, oblivious to all. Flavor win. As far as flavor goes, this is pretty cool. The fact that Amonkhet's just getting taken over and these guys are just, doing their thing. Just doing what they've always been doing. Okay, we got some Gideon hate. But I don't think Gideon hate is as relevant right now that Battle for Zendikar is not a thing anymore. Gideon's defeat. 1 white, instant, exile target white creature that's attacking or blocking. If it was a Gideon Planeswalker, you gain 5 life. Wow. Wow. Okay. We're going to get a little janky real quick. Gideon's defeat plus Crested Sunmare. Say you throw this Gideon's defeat in the sideboard and you're facing like a Vampire Swarm deck with a lot of white creatures in it. No? You have a removal spell that takes care of a Danto Vanguard. You gain 5 life. You get a indestructible horse. The problem is, why would they attack into why would they attack into Crested Sunmare? And I don't think they would. So yeah, I got a little excited there. I was like, ooh, I gain life, Crested Sunmare, but I think Shard's right. I think the clause that it has to attack is what really makes it bad. Attacking or blocking. If this was just like a exile target white creature or planeswalker, which I know would be pretty OP, then it would be much better. You don't want to sideboard around someone having a Gideon. I wasn't sideboarding around Gideon, I was sideboarding around vampires. The problem is they have to attack, and they're never going to attack into your Sunmare. So it sort of makes that combo pretty bad, generally speaking. The only way that combo might work is if they have Vampire Zeal, and they attack into your horse, and you block it, and then they Vampire Zeal, and then you Gideon's defeat, and sort of blow that up. But that's not going to happen very often, if you ask me. I generally dislike cards that deal with just one color. Well, that's why they're sideboard cards. That's why, as mostly Entropy is saying, like Chandra and Jace's defeat, they do see play sideboard and can be pretty strong cards out of the sideboard. Godpharaoh is Faithful, 1 white. Wow, an 0/4 body for 1 mana? Ooh, baby. Whenever you cast a blue, black, or red spell, you gain 1 life. I actually like this card. Like, 1 mana for an 0/4 that gains you life. I know it's janky. I know this is not tier 1 by any means, but I feel like you can buy yourself a lot of time with this. An 0/4 that gains life. Actually, that's kind of weird, because... Never mind, I don't like it anymore. It has to be blue, black, or red. So you'd have to be running it with, like, a Boros deck, or a 4-color deck. Like, it would be really strange. Yeah. I think it's a flavor reason that it doesn't include white. And I think the flavor is that they're willing to just sacrifice themselves to the God Pharaoh, and they don't give a shit about white. They just give a shit about Nicol Bolas because he's their god, and they don't realize they're getting fucked over. I think there's a lot of lore behind this card. But anyway, whenever you... Yeah, blue, black, or red. So it would be kind of weird to splash. Hey, you could make a horse. Never mind. You couldn't make a horse deck with this because a horse is a white card. I was trying to think of how to make this work. This Vizier of Many Faces clone Sunmare. Wow, CGB is really throwing the jank at us. Man, I don't know. You really need to think about this card to figure out how to make it work. It's not a card you just throw into a deck and you're like, oh, okay, this should be a nice filler card. You really need to get into the brewery. And maybe Shaolin can do that for us. I know he's opened up a brewery that he likes to make nice brews for us. And who knows? Maybe one day he can figure something out. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I will stoop so far as to make a God Pharaoh's Faithful deck that works. Probably not. Okay. Hour of Revelation. 3 white, white, white. Hour of Revelation costs 3 less to cast if there are 10 or more non-land permanents on the battlefield. Destroy all non-land permanents. This card's interesting. It doesn't see a lot of play in Standard from what I've seen. Please don't disprove me and just drop 20 deck lists where like, oh yeah, Hour of Revelation just made 10th place at Memphis. I don't think I've seen it anywhere. And I think the reason for that is you have to splash very heavily into white for it to actually work for you. You want to open a brewery, but I'm underage. Sorry to hear that. You'll get there, Eushinides. You will get there. It's interesting. It kind of reminds me of Ascend. It reminds me of the City's Blessing a little bit, in that there needs to be 10 or more permanents. In this case, they have to be non-land permanents. But what makes it interesting is they can include your enemy's permanents. And you're not going to cast this unless your opponent has a good board state. So I think worst case scenario, they're going to have at least one Vraska out or something. They're going to have one thing you need to deal with, and you'll have to spend 6 mana. But how often are you going to have like a City's Blessing like effect where both you and your opponent have 10 or more non-land permanents? How often is that going to come up? I think as a sweeper, it's pretty slow if you're not getting what I'm going to call it the City's Blessing, and I know they're different. They can include your enemy's permanents. You mean it's not just a card when you have 10 permanents on your own side? I know it's different from City's Blessing, but I'm just going to, for sake of simplicity, I'm going to say City's Blessing, even though they are two different mechanics. I think that if you're casting this for 6, it's probably bad. It's not like a Fumigate where you can cast it for 5 and gain a ton of life. You have to play it in white. Shard saying you could play it in your double horse deck. That's an idea. But yeah, you have to play it mono white. I don't think you can play this in 2 or 3 color. Maybe 2 color if you like can make it work for you. And I think you could. I've certainly been able to make Burning Sun's avatar work in my dinosaur deck, which for any of you that are not aware of Burning Sun's avatar, I will pull it up real quick. So Burning Sun's avatar, very similar in its CMC sort of requirements, 3 generic and 3 red. One thing I will say about Burning Sun's avatar, though, is that we do have Drover the Mighty, and we do have Ranging Raptors, which makes Burning Sun's avatar super easy to cast. White doesn't really have that kind of help that Dinosaurs has to just get that Hour of Revelation, out easier in terms of having 3 white mana open to cast it. So it's still kind of awkward. And I think I kind of agree with Eugenides. I think people are going to play it because it is a sweeper that destroys all non-land permanents. So you can't give it too much shit. Like, it will just wipe a board. But it's pretty awkward to cast. And I think you need to be mono white or maybe white green, because I know green can fix your mana pretty easily. I don't think you'd want to play it in white red or white black, white blue, and absolutely would not want to play it in 3 color. And the only reason I would run it 3 color is if I ran Gift of Paradise. That would be the only reason. But yeah, it's just sort of it's a situational card. It goes really well in certain decks. It is slow though. I know there's a lot of decks that can just beat you. Like, they'll do enough damage, but that by the time you cast this, you'll still be losing. Or they'll deal enough damage that they just kill you before you can cast this, you know? So, it's kind of awkward. Okay, Mummy Paramount, 1 and a white zombie. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, Mummy Paramount gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it's a 2/2. This is just a bad card, and not really too much to say about it. But then it ricks your Gift of Paradise. That's true. I forgot about that, Huge. That's a good point that you bring up. So I'm starting to not like Hour of Revelation more and more, because you're right, it would just kill your own Gift of Paradise. So yeah, I wanted to like this card, but the more I look at it, I think it can really only, like, realistically, the only thing it can go in is just like mono white. Works best when you have a ton of flip enchantments. So you're saying that you flip the enchantment and then you cast Hour of Rev? Yeah. Has to go in mono white, I think. I wouldn't want to splash this in anything else. We're still on this. Mostly Entropy. Bringing me back. Hour of Promise, the Talpa, and Hour of Rev. Maybe. Are they not going to Vraska's Contempt your Zatalpa? And I know that sounds fun, because your Zatalpa would survive the wipe. But, yeah, I'm kind of disliking this card the more I think about it. It feels like it requires heavy help to become workable, and you have to make concessions to make the card work, you know? Okay, Oketra's Avenger, 1 and a white human warrior. You may exert Oketra's Avenger as it attacks. When you do, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to it this turn. That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of Adanto Vanguard, but one thing that makes it better than Adanto Vanguard is that it always has 3 power. Adanto Vanguard can almost only ever play attack, you know, because he can't defend that well as a 1/1. I think Hour of Promise plus Ulamog. Stop trying to derail me, Shard. But yeah, I think this card's okay. You might be able to make an aggro deck with it. I think for a common card, it's actually really good. Like, as far as commons are concerned, this is pretty top tier common. Rip MTG bot. I know, right, CGB? It's pretty sad. But yeah, they can still hit it with removal spells. Like, they could just shock your Oketra's Avenger. There's a lot of cheap, like Magma Spray, for example, that could also hit Oketra's Avenger. Jesus, Eugenides, stop it, guys. Too much talk about Hour of Rev right now. The amount of combos people are coming up with, I'd never expected it. Going into the stream today, I did not think that this would be the card to talk about. No, not Horse, not Crested Sunmare. Let's all talk about Hour of Revelation for the next hour. Oh man, in before Ninja bans his whole Twitch chat. I won't ban you guys, don't worry. But man, the Hour of Rev discussion. He still doesn't know his chat. I know you guys want to make that sweeper work. I get it. Oketra's Avenger. It's just sort of. I think it's average. The problem with Oketra's Avenger is we have Adanto Vanguard, and there's another card that I'm going to go to real quick that we also have access to, called Glorybound Initiate. Having both of those cards makes Oketra's Avenger a little bit worse. Oketra's Avenger does not survive removal spells. It doesn't survive sweepers. The only thing it survives is combat damage. And I think as a draft card, maybe it's good. As a card in Arena, once we have everything, I think Oketra's Avenger is going to fall short. Oketra's Last Mercy. All the Oketra cards right now. And that makes sense. We are in white. We are in white. We are going to get a lot of Oketra cards. So you can punt me there. And the joke is that you can't actually punt me because the MTG bot doesn't work. So suck it. Shard can do a punter Ninja if he wants to, I guess. Alright. Oketra's Last Mercy. 1 white sorcery. Your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. Lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. I think of the last cards, because I know there's like a Bantu's Last Reckoning, there's a Kefnit's Last Word, there's an Oketra's Last Mercy. Yeah, I'm getting grilled. I'm getting roasted by Shard for my dumb comments. I'm sorry, man. I just realized it. Alright. Oketra's Last Mercy, I think it's pretty awful. As far as the Last Mercy, like, as far as those those mechanic cards go. This is probably one of the worst ones. I guess it could save you. Say you're at like 1 life, you can gain 19, but man, that already makes the assumption that your opponent has a lot of pressure on you, and you can't even untap the lands. The fact that you can't untap the lands makes it just feel so bad. Like, you have to cast this, go back to their turn, they attack you, you go back to your turn, and 3 of your mana can't untap. And that's assuming that's all you casted, you know? Like, say you cast something else, potentially more mana can't untap. Feels really bad, man. Ooh, here's a fun card. Overwhelming Splendor. 6 and 2 white. Enchant Curse. Enchant player. Creatures enchanted player controls lose all abilities and have base tower and toughness 1/1. Enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. I don't know the other ones off the top of my head, Eugenides. I don't know the full playset of these, what they all look like. The only one I can remember is Bontu's Last Reckoning. I believe Bontu is the black one, right? The one that destroys all creatures. Anyway, Overwhelming Splendor. So every creature you control would become a 1/1. You know, this would be kind of funny if it was against like a vampire deck. Because I feel like against a vampire deck, this card would be pretty garbage, because usually they're 1/1s anyway, and they just get buffed by various other spells, such as Radiant Destiny and Legion's Lieutenant. So against that kind of deck, this card is complete garbage. Who doesn't want to kill 1/1 tyrants? Mostly Entropy brings up a good point that this card is fun. I will not argue against the merits of how much fun you may have when you successfully resolve an Overwhelming Splendor and feel splendid. You feel overwhelmingly splendid after casting this card. They lose the buff abilities from the Lords, though. Would they? Oh yeah, they lose all abilities. So I guess it could nerf Lords a little bit more. So the Legion's Lieutenants, yeah, the Radiant Destiny, Vanquisher's Banner, the Immortal Sun, that would all still work. I don't think it hoses Vamps as much as you want it to hose Vamps. I guess it hoses that horse card, though. You could make a bunch of 1/1 indestructible horses, which I find amusing. But Final Verdict, I think this card's too slow. And I feel like Enchantment Hate may even be more popular once Amonkhet and Hour of Dev come around, because there's a lot of big curses we're getting. Horses, Merfolk, quite a lot. Okay. Yeah, there's gonna be. I think there is going to be a component of Enchantment Hate. Once Amonkhet comes, because if GBG is a thing, definitely, like, there's gonna at least be Artifact Hate. Enchantment Hate, we already have Thrashing Bronodon. Yeah, I just can't see this card quite doing it. I feel like people are gonna have answers. I know Ixalan's Binding is already a pretty popular card. And the more I think about it, the more I think people are just gonna... I'm gonna slam this, and I'm probably gonna lose after they just take away that play with Bronodon or what have you. Could be wrong. Enchantment Hate might not be as big as I think it will be, but yeah, I just don't quite see it. Especially with Scarab God, which already likes to run counter spells. Like, they could just, you know, hold up a counter spell as well, and just not let Overwhelming Splendor resolve. Okay, Sandblast, 2 and a white. Sandblast deals 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature instant. That's actually a lot of damage for 3 mana, but I still think this card's bad. 5 damage for 3, probably great draft, but they have to attack, and there's cards that survive this too, you know. I think Sandblast is kind of janky. I don't think I'm going to be running it. 3 mana for these kind of removal effects feels kind of bad. Yeah, that's the thing, Eugenides, that I don't like. Like, whenever we talk about Overwhelming Splendor, and we talked about another card called Sandworm Convergence, which I'll try to pull up. These cards, you feel so bad when Brontodon hits them, and that's why I'm always skeptical of big enchantments, because sure, you have a big enchantment, but they have a small guy that can just wreck it. Overwhelming Splendor. That's a good point, Shaolin. That that it would not work for Bronodon. So maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for. That is a good truth bomb. So because this is an aura, I believe it would work the same way that where was that other aura that I was talking about? Can't seem to find it, but there was definitely another aura. Here it is, Desert's Hold. Because it's an aura, I don't think they would be able to sack it in response for the very same reason. And destroy Overwhelming Splendor before it can do its thing. I think it would just, as soon as it resolves, Thrashing Bronodon would no longer be the Thrashing Bronodon that it is. So, okay. You sold me a little bit on Overwhelming Splendor. I have higher hopes for it now. Alright, Saving Grace, 1 and a white, flash. Enchant creature you control. When Saving Grace enters the battlefield, all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control is dealt to enchanted creature instead. An enchanted creature gets +0, +3. So say they Starve Extinction. Say they Starve Extinction and you flash this on your Raptor Hatchling. Would you save your entire team from Starve Extinction? Yeah, it does have an ETB trigger, so no response time. Splendor plus Sanguine Sacrament Windcon. That's really weird. That's just toxic, actually. It's not weird, that's just toxic. That makes Magic less fun for me. Yeah, this is something I'm curious about, though. Like, what if they just Starve Extinction? Does Saving Grace actually work in that case? I think it would. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. Target player, like, deals 20 damage to each creature and planeswalker target player controls. This prevents all damage that would be dealt to you. So you would include Starve Extinction. I believe this would actually save your board from Starve Extinction, although you would lose the creature that you enchant it to. That being said, I think this card is still kind of garbage. I guess it's kind of like a Blossoming Defense, but the problem is, say they Vraska's Contempt something, you can't actually save it. Like, you play Saving Grace, and the target that they are targeting with Vraska's Contempt still gets killed, and Saving Grace is sort of a Nombo combo as far as that's concerned. I kind of don't like the card. Saving Grace plus Temple Altasaur. Is that the thing that reverses toughnesses? Because we're getting way too janky if that is indeed the case. No, it's not. I was thinking of a white-green card that makes toughness a little different mechanically. Temple Altasaur. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all but one of that damage. Kind of interesting. Will exile effects get around most protection type cards? Not really. Not if you have Blossoming Defense Sharda, which was a pretty popular card. I know a lot of people have loved using Blossoming Defense in Standard. And this just isn't even close to the same level as Blossoming Defense. Like, that's what we need, is we need another nice Blossoming Defense. I don't want Dive Down. I want Blossoming Defense, man. Maybe there's a creature with a Deflecting Palm effect. Deflecting Palm? Is that another mechanic that I just don't know about? Blossoming Defense is super awesome. Yes, sir, Beardy. I'm glad that we agree on that. That's one of my favorite cards. I love Blossoming Defense. Boros, Reckoner, Reprint, confirmed. You guys keep confusing me, man. Alright, let's talk about Solemnity. Hexproof, Shroud. Damn it, Shard, you keep derailing me. I was just trying to talk about Solemnity. Hexproof, Shroud, and protection against exile type effects. They don't protect against... Deflecting Palm is a mechanic that should be in Magic, but basically isn't. Yeah, you guys would have to explain that. While you're getting into that, I'm gonna read Solemnity, and then I'll get back to you, Beardy. So Solemnity 2 and a white. Players can't get counters. Counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. So this card's interesting. It shuts down Longtusk Cub. It shuts down snakes. It shuts down planeswalkers. Players can't get counters. Counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. Is a planeswalker a player? I'm not sure. Okay, here's the problem. The Magic developers should have understood that gaining life damage protection is bad, but damage redirection is actually awesome. The problem goes to Healing Salve. There is a card that I want to talk about, and I know I'm getting a little derailed, but I still want to talk about it. I'm actually going to have to go into the Magic Duels deck builder to find this one, because I'm not sure what set it's from. Planeswalker is not a player. Okay. So, I think it's an enchantment. I'm going to have to go to Visual Spoiler, because it's a little easier. Let's see if I can find it. It's sort of a redirect spell that I never used, but I always found interesting. Captured by the Consulate. Welcome to the derail where our train is running wild. I need to get like a train effect, you know? That'd be a pretty sweet idea. Something that I'm gonna try and get in the near future. So look forward to that in my next streams. Captured by the Consulate. That's kind of what I'm thinking of when I see Deflecting Palm. Ninja just has to admit that this isn't a train, it's more of a car or a tractor. Is that supposed to be an insult, Shaolin? I'm sorry, but I want this to be a train, thank you. This needs to be a train, Shaolin. This is not a car, and it is most certainly not a tractor. Trains are badass. Trains make awesome noises. Like, when you beep a car, it's just really underwhelming sounding, you know? It doesn't have quite the effect of when you hear a steam engine train just blowing that horn. You know, that steam engine train, that is awesome. And the fact that you would reduce my stream to a car or a tractor? A tractor? Really, Shaolin? Really? I am insulted right now. Okay. Captured by the Consulate. That kind of just reminded me of Deflecting Palm. And that's basically all I had to say. I just wanted to find the card for you guys. Okay. Let's get back on the rails. And that's another thing. I can't say it. Let's get back on the rails. I cannot say let's get back on the rails, Shaolin. Am I supposed to say let's get back on the tractor? Like, are you kidding me? I am very insulted right now. Okay. Solitary Camel, and by the way, back to, I don't know if I said this, but Shardat did say Planeswalker is not a player, so that does make Solemnity a lot worse. Alright. Solitary Camel, 2 and a white. Solitary Camel has lifelink as long as you control a desert or there is a desert card in your graveyard. Let's go back. Let's go back to Crested Sunmare. You have combos that you can work with this Camel on. But in all seriousness, I think Camel is not a good card. Check out Standard Bearer on Gatherer. Okay. Let's check it out. Standard Bearer MTG. Whew, man, you know this is an old card. Based on just looking at it. One in a white. Beardy's been around. He has been playing Magic for quite a long time, so he knows about a lot of cards that I don't know about. So, props to Beardy. He is a veteran Magic player. When choosing targets as part of casting a spell or activating an ability, your opponents must choose... Ah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I remember you talking to me about this card. Beardy's played a few years. Yeah, he hasn't been playing too long, you know? It's not like he doesn't know what Standard Bearer is, a card that I had never heard of. But, yeah, it's kind of like the Consulate. I can see that resemblance. And what's that effect called, just so I am aware of it in future streams? You guys called it Deflecting Palm. So Deflecting Palm is the name of a mechanic that works kind of like this, I guess? Okay. Anyway, let's get back to reviewing cards. Interesting to know, though. Steadfast Sentinel, 3 and a white, Vigilance, Eternalize, 2/3. I'm pretty meh on this card. I think Eternalize is a extremely fun mechanic, but I think it's this Eternalize mechanic just got slapped onto a 4 mana 2/3 Vigilance, and that's not where I want my Eternalize cards, so I don't like Steadfast Sentinel as a result. Deflecting Palm is a card that lets you redirect damage. I guess I'll go to it real quick. I'll derail myself for a minute just to see what it does. Cons of Tarkir. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If the damage is prevented this way, deals that much damage to its source's controller. Interesting. Okay. Back to Hour of Dev. I just wanted to get a look, you know. Not here to review Deflecting Palm, though. Check out Healing Salve. Oh, man. Alright. No more derailing after this. No more. No more derailing. This is the last derail. Healing Salve. I don't want to buy these products. Okay. Healing Salve, 1 white. Instant gain 3 life or prevent up to 3 damage from being dealt to a single target. Byproduct or Riot. You guys want me to go on Amazon? Is this the buying salve stream? Okay. Healing Salve, gain 3 life or prevent up to 3 damage from being dealt to a single target. I like the fact that you get to choose. And before this becomes a shopping IRL stream, goodness gracious. Alright, yeah, it's interesting. I guess I'm learning more about Magic history, as CGB has pointed out. Huh. Just imagine Healing Salve as a redirection. I can see it, like on especially damage-based spells. I just keep thinking of Vraska's Contempt, and I'm sorry that I have to think of such an OP card right now. But whenever I think of this card, I just think of, oh, okay, it doesn't matter because Vraska's Contempt. But say they have a burn spell, I guess it could stop a lightning bolt, as Beardy is pointing out. Vraska's Contempt OP, yes sir. Did you guys see GP Memphis, by the way? I know I'm super derailed, so I might as well just get more derailed. Let's look at GP Memphis real quick, and let's look at Vraska's Contempt. Look at how many times you're gonna see it. You're not gonna see it in Mardu vehicles, but Grixis Energy for Vraska's Contempt. Blue-Black Control for Vraska's Contempt. Sultai Constrictor, did that run Blast? Yes, it did run 2 Vraska's Contempt, and the other 2 sideboard. Still 4 copies of Vraska's Contempt. Blue-Black Control, 4 Vraska's Contempt. Grixis Energy, let's see, 4 Vraska's Contempt. Grixis Energy again. 4 Vraska's Contempt. Did you guys see what I'm getting at here? Vraska's Contempt is very popular and very widely played. And I do take that card heavily into consideration when brewing, because of how popular it actually is. Anyway, where was I? I got so derailed I forgot what the last card I talked about was. I believe I'm on Steward of Solidarity, though. Steward of Solidarity, 1 and a white human warrior, taps itself, exert. Steward of Solidarity creates a Yeah, this card's pretty garbage. The flavor is actually pretty sweet, though. If you look at the art for this card, they're like, I think the flavor is that they're saving someone, and that's why you get a 1/1 warrior creature token with vigilance, which I think is pretty cool. It's definitely a flavor win. In the midst of disaster, heroic acts become almost ordinary, and ordinary warriors become heroes. I really like that flavor. Like, I know I'm gonna trash a lot of cards that are just super vanilla or they just don't quite do it. But I gotta tip the hat to the flavor win on that card. I would run Impale if it was the only good removal spell. I believe Impale destroys target creature and its sorcery speed. And I think I agree with CGB on this quite heavily, in fact. But let me just... Okay, I should not just type in Impale. I'll probably get some quite gory... Come on, Internet Explorer. What is going on? Impale. MTG. There we go. Yeah, Impale. Destroy target creature. I actually do run this card. Yeah, Google is so much better than Yahoo. Did you guys see how badly Yahoo was doing right there for me? Screw you, Yahoo. Okay. But what I want to talk about Impale is that I do actually run that card. Hands up if you want to see. Hey, I'm talking about Impale, CGV. Thank you for the support, Beardy Magics. The thing about Impale is that, especially in the arena meta, we don't all have access to 4 Vraska's Contempts. I only have 1 because most of my Mythic Wild cards are going into aggro decks at the moment. So Impale is actually a card that I like to run. Wow. CGB derailing his own point. Thank you, Holy. Thank you, Sharda. I feel vindicated right now. I feel very vindicated about my decision to Google Impale. So thank you, guys. I appreciate the support. But yeah, basically what I have to say about Derail is it's a good substitute for Vraska's Contempt if you don't have Vraska's Contempt. And I know the power level of this versus Vraska's Contempt. It's not even close. Vraska's Contempt is just infinitely better, but if you don't have it, I think Impale is a good replacement. Going back to the rails, let's talk about Sunscorched Champion. 2 and a white. Human Wizard. When Sunscorched Champion enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its power. Eternalize. Oh, you have to discard a card. Look at this. It's not quite the same as a normal Eternalize card. Mostly Eternalize is just bam, but this you actually have to discard. Interesting. So you Eternalize and you have to discard. It does nerf it a bit, that's for sure. Which does make me like it a lot less, that's for sure. Like, why do you have to discard, man? Why can't you just slap Eternalize 4 on it? I guess Eternalize 4 is pretty cheap. That's true, Monk. Monk brings up a good point. You can synergize with GPG with Sunscorched Champion, so it's not like the discard is necessarily a bad thing if you have the right brew for it. And maybe that's a brew, and I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't looked at GPG that closely, but I wouldn't be surprised if this card got played in GPG, simply because of that discard synergy. And I don't know if it is. I'm just sort of going out on a limb and saying that. But yeah, that's good synergy. I like it. Already in a 5-0 deck list. Wow. Now that surprises me. I knew it would go in that deck, but a 5-0 deck list? Whoo, man. All right. A 1 of. So I guess they don't love it. They like it, but they don't love it. No, this card, it's interesting. I think if you're not running it in GPG, it could be kind of bad. But it's hard to say that, because one thing about Eternalize is it's really expensive to cast the Eternalize cost, whereas this one is a 4 CMC Eternalize, which is a lot cheaper, and you gain a lot of life from it. You gain 2 life as it enters the battlefield, and then you gain another 4 life as you Eternalize it. Google Healing Ointment? No, I am not getting derailed again, Shardat. But yeah, I think I'm getting sold on this card. I still don't like it in decks that are not GPG, but there's probably ways to sell me on it. I'm not gonna say I'm against it, but it's definitely meant for GPG. That is where this guy belongs. And he's probably more of a 3 or 4 of in arena meta, because we're not going to have the access to 4 Angel of Invention. We won't be able to do that, so we're going to have to use different cards. Quote, I am not getting derailed again. That's a good quote. I need a bot. Like, if MTG bot's not going to work for me, what am I going to do with myself? Gonna need to get Nightbot in here. Ninja is often a cheap sell. Hey, I'm not a fan of the cycling. What is that card called again? I always forget. Cycling from Amonkhet. Someone's gonna card name it before I can even get to it. Let's see. I know Shaolin's gonna be on it. New Perspectives. There we go. You got derailed by that quote as well. Hey, that's just me being responsive to my chat. You ever consider that, Shardat? You ever consider that I like to read every comment and respond to it? That I can? Beardy Magics has a strong robot suggestion. Shardbot 2000 is a good bot. I don't know, man. I'm not that well versed in my bots. But right now, it might look like Nightbot might take over, because that's the one that I hear a lot of people use, and I've heard good things about it. But yeah. Okay. Unconventional Tactics, 2 and a white sorcery. Target creature gets +3/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. Whenever a zombie enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, return Unconventional Tactics from your graveyard to your hand. This is such a weird card. So it has to go in a zombie deck, because you need to rely on the zombie ETB trigger. And you get +3/+3 and flying, which I guess is good for zombies. So let me think. You cast this on a zombie for 3, right? You cast it for 3. The zombie gets in with flying, but then it goes into the graveyard. So you could do it on a separate turn. Like, it's not like you have to do all of this combo on one turn. You could wait until another turn, and then the zombie enters the battlefield, and you get another Unconventional Tactics. That's kind of actually interesting. I think this card's not bad for zombies, but the problem is that that zombies aren't in a good spot right now, so I think this card's also not in a good spot. Okay, give MTG bot a chance to get back. They got banned, Shard, but yeah, they probably will be able to get their bot back. I know they have a lot of subscribers and a lot of support in the MTG community, so. But I do almost want to have something in the meantime. Strongly suggest Streamlabs chatbot. Alright, I'll definitely take your suggestion into account. I know Beardy does a lot of streaming. He streams far more than I do, and props to him. If you haven't seen his channel, definitely check it out. He does a lot of content. He's very active, and I trust his opinion because he streams a lot more than I do. And I think if he's gonna recommend a bot, I think I should take his word for it. And maybe maybe until MTG bot gets sorted out, I could use Streamlabs chatbot. Eugenides uses Streamlabs chatbot if you want input on it as well. Alright, looks like we're reaching a consensus, which I'm happy to hear, that that Streamlabs chatbot is good. Only good thing is the weird zombie floating art. We're in Janktown, mostly Entropy. We are not in Tier 1 Town, we are in Janktown. And in Janktown, I like to recur unconventional tactics over multiple turns over a game. So yes. It might... the only good thing might be its art, but I don't care. It looks something fun. Let's see. Eugenides, are you using Streamlabs? Active streamers? Yeah, I really have tried a lot of different bots. I know! I know you have, Beardy. You have been streaming for a while, so I trust that. Trusting streamer opinions. What's wrong about a little trust, Shaolin? You're all about positivity with your stream, and you're dismissing my streamer trust. Come on, man. Use the Streamlabs version of OBS. Soon they'll be integrated into one, and it'll be amazing. Pew pew pew. Shaolin has trust issues. I don't know. Vizier of the Crew. 3 and a white. Human cleric. You may exert Vizier of the Crew as it attacks. Whenever you exert a creature, tap target creature and opponent controls. No. Man, that is a very underwhelming card to go out on, huh? Vizier of the Crew, really? That's the best you got to show me for our last card of the day? Come on. I don't trust nothing. Oh, I get it. CGB was saying pew 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 because shots fired. I didn't mean to fire shots at you, Shaolin. Although I guess I inadvertently did. We fire shots at each other a lot, though. I'm sure we both have lots of battle wounds from our artillery strikes on each other on a daily streaming basis. But okay, that is going to do it for this stream. Got pretty derailed today, but that's okay. We had a lot of fun things to talk about. And tomorrow, we are going to be talking about all of the blue cards in Hour of Devastation. If you want to check out the stream tomorrow, that will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should have ended on Hour of Promise. I promise you guys, I promise that at the hour of 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at the Hour of Promise, I will be streaming. And you guys can take that promise. I will do it. Blue players in MTG, yeah. Anyway, Shaolin is thanking me for the tractor stream. Curse you, Shaolin. This is obviously a train stream and not a tractor stream, and I refuse to bow down and submit to your tractor hierarchy. That be. Anyway, I'm getting super derailed again from you guys, and I wanna bounce. So take care. I will see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.